Who am I here with?
Hunter.
Okay. Yeah. What is one controversial topic in the Christian faith to you?
The first thing that came to my mind was the offering during church. So I've been to a few churches where it kind of felt like they were kind of boasting about money, maybe, or maybe not the boasting part, but the actual asking and almost making maybe you feel bad that you're not given. Because I know it's supposed to be 20% of
10%.
or 10%. Okay, 10% of your yearly income, which obviously some people can't do that. Or, but I've been to a few churches where it kind of turned me off immediately because maybe been just a bad time to go. Maybe it was that time of the year, or just that was what they needed to say that day. But I feel like there's probably good ways to go about it, but I feel like that's probably like the topic that I feel like is the most.
Yeah. Okay. Biggest thing is if we see the scripture where Jesus is with his disciples at the Passover, I believe it's some type of feast, and they are watching people give, and there's people who are giving a lot of money, and the disciples are getting like super hype about it. And Jesus makes no reaction, but then a woman comes and she gives like what's equivalent to like 2 pennies in today's standards, and he goes like crazy about it. And he's like, "That's what we want to see," and it's because and he goes crazy about it, and it's not because of how much she gave; it's because of where her heart was. She was giving all she had, and the Lord doesn't call us to just give all our money to the church. Because he also calls us to be good stewards with our money. And it does the tithing, in my understanding, it seems like we're presenting the most with it has to be towards the church. But I think if we understand what scripture is saying and we're the body of the church, tithing is just giving to others. Because at the end of the day, our money isn't ours, it's the Lord's blessing us with this. And if you feel like you are harboring it to where you feel like you don't have the right heart posture giving, even when you do it, he doesn't want that money. You could give him the church $1 million, a homeless person $1 million, but you're like, take my money, I don't want to do this. God does not want that. He wants you to be like, I want to.
It's all about intent.
Yeah. So I do agree, and I think it is, especially now, especially when you see like a mega church, it's really about how much money you're giving. But I think it's where your heart is, not how much you're giving. But so I do agree. That was a good. Who are we here with?
My name is Cam.
Okay. So what is one controversial topic in the Christian faith to you?
So I believe that what I've heard before is that you have to go to church pretty regularly in order to have a good relationship with God. And also that's the only way to have community in your life as far as getting closer to him.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
So would you say you can have a strong relationship with God and not ever go to church?
I would say so. It's not something that I particularly do, but I do believe that you don't have to step foot in his house in order to receive that type of relationship with him. I believe it definitely is a good practice to have for sure. And especially if you're within a good community, of course, but some people can't find that. And so to turn somebody down and kind of look down upon them like for their path and their walk because they don't go as much is I don't believe in that at all. And also I feel like everybody has, if they feel like they're alone, they got 3 people with them at all times, you know what I'm saying? So
I got you. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. So we are here with Kendrick. All right. So what's one controversial topic to you?
One is I'm going to say the ideas of dating in our day and age. Because what, you're 20? 20. Okay, so I'm 24. So, so we're in that same age gap. So it's very different than what it was, 24 years ago. 2000, coming out of the 90s, coming, in the early 2000s, but dating is now, I think a lot of the youth, the whole, what for me is like ghosting somebody. Like that, like what is that doing for you? You know what I'm saying? Like the toying with the emotions back and forth, there's no real connection there. You're just jumping from one person to the next, and like when in your life is it going to come to a point, okay, I'm ready to settle down.
Yeah.
When it's just gonna be one.
Yeah.
Not what they say a roster.
Yeah, so, I got you.
I think just the whole dating and like lust is a very difficult conversation for people to have.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just like, they can keep counting on their hands, days, how many bodies they had,
yeah,
kind of thing. So
yeah.
I feel like that's a very controversial.
I like that because I definitely agree. It's culturally promoted to just do what you want, have as much fun while you're young as you can, sleep around and meet as many people as you can to figure out what works for you. But even like you said, 24 years ago, let alone back in the biblical times, it was like you meet one person and there's times obviously where we see they wouldn't end up being with that person. I'm assuming that just happened just because of that's how the world works. But they weren't, like you said, ghosting people because they had enough respect for each other.
Exactly.
And you can't just ghost someone when you're not texting them. You had to do that in person. But then also like they weren't, unless you were like Solomon who had 700 wives. The goal wasn't to have as many bodies as you could. It was to join one flesh or two people together to make one flesh. And so that is, I think, very anti-cultural of what's being promoted now. And like you said, that lust is a really difficult thing because it literally is taught that it's normal. Like even when we were growing up, like we had the conversation of you're going to start feeling these feelings and you're going to want to check out whether it's porn or whatever it is.
It's start venturing in that, whatever. So.
It's taught that it's okay to do, which then just eventually corrupts it and like it ruins the beautiful creation of like just sex in general between one person or two people because it's promoted that it's a normal feeling to want others and to seek those stuff out. So
and I feel like that's to the point of like exploring, like what age do you explore? Like now it's like it's such a young age window that kids are being, whether it's in music, whether it's in videos, whether it's in media entertainment in general, like what age, versus like kids now versus when we were younger, even biblical times. So, what age was that like a thing like to where now you know what I'm saying? Like there's kids that like they lost their virginity at ages that like what that's crazy. So I think that's definitely a topic that people should start having more like explore, have fun, be safe about them. Number one thing. I can say for me personally in my life, I only have one body. And like it's not a
boastful thing.
It's not a boastful thing. I don't go saying like, I can only count on one hand. It's with somebody that I trusted. There's a bond that we built. And led to it. It wasn't just like a one night stand. It wasn't like I saw you at a bar or something. Didn't remember anything of it. No, it was a bond, it was a trust, and somebody that I grew to know. And even though we don't see, I'm not gonna say we don't see eye to eye now, it's that we still have that respect. We still communicate to this day. Now things didn't work out in my favor as I was, trying to pursue this person to be that one person, to create that one body. That one flesh, as you said. But that's just kind of one of those things now. It's just like I'm on my own trying to figure out the next step. Like, can I move myself to move on? Or am I just gonna be stuck with that one person? And I feel like that's what separates me in this generation. Being 24 versus someone that's 20 versus somebody that's teens. Like that, or going around bodies on bodies on body. So it's hard for me to wrap my mind around that. So I think in my life that's a very common.
That's really good. Okay, so who are we here with?
My name is Luke.
All right, nice to meet you. Well, I've already met you.
Yeah,
nice for them to meet you. So what's your controversial topic?
So my Christianity controversial topic today is going to be about homosexuality. So I'm a firm believer that everybody lives in sin. I think there's different types of sin. I think murder, blasphemy is up there, but I think a lot of the sins are on the same level. They displease God, all sin, mostly the same. So I don't really think there's too much of a difference of homosexuality, or if I was going to go down to the gas station down the road and steal, I think it displeases God both ways.
I agree.
But I think if you can understand that you are living in that sin, then your homosexuality does not damn you to eternal damnation. And I think if you understand that that's not what God wants for you, and you understand that that's wrong, then I think God will work with you. I think that homosexuality and being attracted to the same gender is brain wired. I think it can stem from mental issues, trauma, stuff like that. And a lot of it can be just stuff that you can't really control in your past life or what's going on in your life. But I think that if you work with God and reason with God, then you are not eternally damned. But at the end of the day, I still do believe that homosexuality still is a sin.
Yeah.
And I pray for anyone out there who deals with this and struggles with it. I know a few people who understand that it's wrong. They're in the church. They're seeking forgiveness, stuff like that. But that's probably one of the most controversial ones that I could say. So
I agree. Something I always tell people. So like I've seen, and I know people who will say like they've just always been gay. Like it's something they haven't, like something happened to cause it. And I always tell people no different than, like you said, I like that. A lot of people forget to point that out. It is a sin just as much as stealing or just as much as me going and having sex before marriage. And the problem isn't that like sin isn't in the attraction of the same sex or if it's an attraction towards the opposite.
Yeah.
It's when you take that action, regardless. And I don't think even when you're married, I personally hold the belief because not just in the Old Testament, but the New Testament talks about it being wrong. Acting on that desire is no different than acting on someone who is wired to get the thrill from stealing or murdering.
Yeah.
It's a sin nonetheless. And I've seen videos where people who were homosexual their whole lives came to Christ and they either just decided, just like people who are eunuchs, I always mess up how they say it. People who willingly choose to always stay celibate and not be married and have kids. Just like them, it is hard, but the Bible teaches us, Christ teaches us that you have to die to yourself and pick up the cross daily, not just once. And so if you aren't willing to let go of something you really want, even if it means you're not going to have a spouse for the rest of your life, it's which is more important to you, that relationship with another male or female, or your relationship with God.
I think one really big thing in the Bible, I can't remember what verse it is. Maybe you can pull it up on the video when you get to it. But I'm familiar with the verse that says, cut off your right hand.
If it causes you sin.
There's I would say that a lot of men and women, and one of the biggest sins in today's world is lust.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, you're in bed at night, 10 p.m., nothing to do. Sometimes you just have to remember, cut off that right hand.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. And one of the other things that I feel like is a misconception in Christianity is the story about Sodom and Gomorrah. I feel like that is very pushed on the views of homosexuality, stuff like that. I think a lot of what they were doing in Sodom and Gomorrah was a lot worse than just normal sexuality.
Yeah.
They were asking angels for orgies. Sorry if you got to blur
that
out.
Good.
That's just how it was.
Yeah.
God completely destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
Is it the same story where he turned Lot into a pillar of salt because he turned his head? He turned his wife because she turned around and looked at the city on fire. That's how serious it was. But I just think that people use that. It's like, he completely destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah for homosexuality. But I think it was definitely a lot worse than just that base level homosexuality. So I feel like that's very pushed in common Christian churches and denominations and stuff like that. So
I definitely agree. It plainly says sexual immorality. Though the sexually immoral will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. Not homosexual immorality, but all in all. So I do agree, and that's something we need to be more. I think we shouldn't just push the homosexuality part. We need to push all sin, because sin, nonetheless, all of it is dangerous, and God definitely does not rock with it.
No, all sin pushes you further from God. It displeases God. So
I do like that. Thank you so much for
of course, bro.
Okay,
so what is the controversial topic?
I think the topic that's always caused controversy is leadership. A lot of people debate are there apostles, are there not? How much autonomy do you have? How much do leaders have authority? The leaders have over you. Like how much can your pastor tell you? How much can you not? And I think that digs into every area of your life, like what you do with your money. Like everyone has leaders, and I think that's often controversial because they want to do their own thing.
I like that. So, are you more so on the understanding, or do you feel like we need to put them more, in authority? Is that what you mean, or do you think they have too much?
No, I believe the Bible says in Ephesians chapter 4, it talks about the order that the church gets. It says first be apostles, secondarily prophets, and then it goes on and gives a list. And I think that in order for a church to succeed and be in order, you have to have all those things. And I think there's a lot of people that obviously argue like doctrinally, apostles, or those sorts of things. But
what's the most controversial, Do you think that we need more to give the leaders more authority?
Yeah, I feel like Protestantism has made people feel like they need this solo sort of relationship with Jesus, and I would never knock a personal relationship with Jesus. I think a person have a personal relationship with Jesus, but I think God never meant for Christians to be alone. And I think there's a community, and when you enter in that community, there's going to be structure, and you have to follow my vector, right? We're all members of the body. We got to operate in order with the head. We got to operate in order with the way that God said.
Okay, so similar, like, I know the reason Catholics and Orthodox, they only think that they have their bishops, they have a list, and they put Orthodox don't put the Pope ahead of everyone else, like he's not the ultimate say so besides Christ. Do you guys follow more along like Catholic Catholicism, where it's like the Pope has authority, or like are they not? You guys like get your goods from?
I don't know. Oh, wait, after you get
like Catholics, they have like their fathers, so like the priests and everything, and then they also have like so everything stems down to the bishop.
Okay.
So is that like you guys also fall under like does that make sense?
Yes, I think I understand what you're saying. Are you saying that someone has like more authority than other people, and then like kind of fall under that, you know? And I think that's sort of our Western way of thinking things in like 1, 2, 3, and the person that's 1 is more than the person that's number 2. But if I think about it, as I said before, as pieces perfectly fitted together, I mean, you can have a head, that's all fine and dandy, but if you don't have anything to run, what is it? It's nothing. You know, so I would think of it more in that fashion. And I feel like a lot of people panic when you start talking about leadership. Oh, it's going to be a cult, it's going to be this, that, and the other. But I think, like, we're all members of the body. I'm not going to try and be something I'm not. Like in the real world, I'm not going to go try and act like I'm a truck driver kind of thing before, you know? I mean, we just literally just have to make sense out of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Church has to make sense, you know? And I think that's how I would kind of word it as far as being first, second, or third. Kind of, you know? But we still do have a head, you know, not leave one concept or the other, but they both work together.
Okay, so if you guys follow more, you're good. You follow, no, you're good. You follow, so like Catholicism and Orthodox, they are solo. They're not sola. It's the combine. So are you guys that, or do you feel like it's mostly you take the leadership aspect of what they have, but it's also just solo? You know that?
So you're saying like people that say like we only listen to scripture, blah blah.
Instead of church. Are you?
You said scripture instead of tradition.
Like because like Catholicism is scripture plus people and plus. So it's like a trinity of what they follow. Versus like Protestant following.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that's funny when people say like when I was saying we're like reading scripture and they're like saying let's turn to John the Bible, isn't that person? You know, like okay, that's kind of interesting. But of course, I would say tradition is important, but the Bible also warns us against our traditions because you turn into superstition, right? Like a lot of the Jews lost out because their tradition, although not wrong and right for the time they were in, they can't fight to go on, got stuck in a tradition that then just turned into a superstition to the one that God right? So I think it's important to keep a balance between those two things. Of course, the Bible says don't forsake the old way, right? So you need to keep tradition. It's obviously important to keep a personal relationship with Jesus, to read your Bible, to pray, to do all those things. And I would say that would be tradition and spiritual, right? But yeah, I would say
okay. I like that. That's a good answer. That's actually I think it is controversial, but I think it's important. Thank you for that. Seriously.